Detractors on CNN are saying that Trump had no authorization for this war. I can't believe our leader could just attack Iran with no vote, no permission from Congress or anything. I mean, what is this, Iran?
The hilarity of the Democrat Party's propaganda machine. They work for Iran. They work for Putin. They work for Xi Jinping. They should be wearing armbands. They're not on our side. That's Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live. Good comedy. It's war with Iran. And the propaganda never stops. And authorization. You need authorization. We need Congress. Of course, that's a lie, because if they're speaking, they're lying. They're the left. Anybody remember Barack Obama bombing Libya for 8 months in a war that he said would take days and not weeks? Remember that? Went on for 8 months, and the entirety of the American news media turned a blind eye to it for 7 months and 28 days. They paid attention for about 48 hours, then they walked away, went to Starbucks, got back to cheating on the wives and stuff, the usual. Well, a very good Monday to you. The world is a very different place this morning than it was on Friday afternoon when last week convened. Remarkable developments. The United States of America, President Trump deciding to strike Iran. And boy, when they decided to strike Iran, they really decided to strike Iran. Let me tell you that. The Ayatollah is no more. Now he's the Bayatollah, and he is dead in an airstrike. And it looks like the CIA provided, according to some reports, their initial reports, but multiple reports, the American CIA providing the intelligence on where the Ayatollah and his senior leaders would be meeting. And Israel carried out that airstrike, according to reports at least. And the Ayatollah is no more. And boy, it's kind of a big deal. There is big stuff going on in the Middle East and the world. This is the world's number one state sponsor of terror. You may recall that while Barack Obama bombed, he attacked 8 different countries while he was president. In his last year, he attacked 7 countries, dropping bombs. And Libya was one of the countries that he attacked, and Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton was our chief diplomat, our Secretary of State at the time. You may remember Benghazi. That's Hillary's bright and shining moment, I think. And Nancy Pelosi was asked about it at the time. Hey, doesn't President Obama have to come to Congress to get authorization? And she declared he doesn't need authorization because Democrats Sig Heil. So were it not for double standards, liberals would have no standards at all. But this is a big, big deal. Make no mistake. And we did have at least one terrorist attack in Austin, Texas, a Muslim, radical, extremist, fanatic, mass shooting, Austin, Texas, murders, lots of people wounded, and, then gunned down by the police because the Democrats want to defund the police. But we've got a lot going on today, as you might imagine, and I look forward to hearing from you, the great American people, on all of this as well. Now, 4 Americans reported killed, 5 additional Americans reported wounded, severely wounded, and the Kuwaitis have shot down 3 American F-15s because they're bobblehead dolls, and this is why you don't want to go to war with bobblehead dolls. You don't want to go to war with France, and you don't want to go to war with bobblehead dolls, although I do have the NATO General Secretary, and he sounds very pro-Trump and pro-action against Iran. I've got him for you coming up this morning. But we've got a lot going on. Celebrations in the streets of Tehran and other Iranian cities, and lots of Islamist lunacy because that's what we're up against and have been up against since at a bare minimum 1979 and beyond. There is a long list of Iranian terror attacks against the United States, targeting Americans in Lebanon, in Iraq, targeting Jews in Buenos Aires. It's the terrorist regime of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and the Ayatollah was the bearded head of the snake, and the head of the snake has been cut off. That doesn't mean anything is over, and a great deal of their leadership, 40, we learned this yesterday morning, 40 of the Iranian regime leadership, including the Ayatollah, killed in airstrikes by the United States and Israel, working in concert in defense of civilization itself. I've been talking about this in those terms for many years now. Radical Islam and their war against civilization, against the United States, against Israel, against Western civilization, death to America, death to Israel, death to the Jews, death to the great Satan. We're the great Satan. Israel is the little Satan. And they've been waging war against us, an asymmetric war, since 1979, and they are the bad guys. The Democrats have, of course, goose-stepped out, and they're pretty much anti-American and pro-anybody that is anti-American. They're pro-radical Islamic jihad. They do it in the name of liberalism, though, which makes a lot of sense because of the mental illness. But there is a big, big thing happening on planet Earth today, and President Trump pulled the trigger on something that had been talked about for a long, long time, for decades. And I mean, going back to the Reagan administration, it has been talked about, and there have been conflicts, and there have been kinetic exchanges, as they say, miniature acts of warfare between the United States and Iran. But Iran, keep in mind, primary state sponsor, number one state sponsor of terror on planet Earth, radical Islamic jihadi terror. And they are global in reach, and they're in bed with Russia and China and Russia are in bed with Iran, the axis of evil. The Middle East, of course, the never-ending hotbed of violent madness, of lunacy. Quite my entire lifetime, but certainly my entire adult lifetime, Iran has been at the epicenter of evil in the world. And they are the bad guys. And again, the Democrats, they come out as it's not just Trump derangement syndrome, it's anti-American syndrome. The left doesn't stand up for the West. The left is trying to destroy the West, too. But we've got a lot for you on all this. And did you see Democrat Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib? Did you see this? These Democrats, boy, are they not on our side. They're not even close to being on our side. But here's what Rashida Tlaib tweeted out, one of the Democrat squad members, communist jihadis in the House of Representatives. The Democrats think they're hipsters for hanging out with them and smoking pot at a party or whatever it is they do to be cool. Rashida Tlaib, Democrat, member of the House of Representatives, tweeted, both the U.S. and genocidal Israel doesn't care about the laws. This is who they are, right? And when she says they, she's referring to the United States and Israel. That's us. Most people, I would say that's us, or I would say we, but she says they because she's an enemy of the United States of America, and she is not even in the closet anymore. She's a jihadi, she's a radical, she's a leftist, she's an extremist, and she's perfectly in the mainstream of the Democrats, and they smile in your face all the time. They want to take your place. Both the U.S. and genocidal Israel, not genocidal, doesn't care about the laws. Shouldn't that be don't care about the laws because you have a singular plural disagreement there? This is who they are. They being the United States. She's a Democrat member of the House of Representatives. Democrat Party should be dissolved for the good of mankind. They're reforming the Confederate States of America. Isn't that amazing? And we've got a lot. I got Rashida Tlaib lambasted for referring to the USA as they. She doesn't see herself as being part of us or we because she is an extremist and a radical and the mainstream of the Democrat Party. They love being, hipsters with Rashida Tlaib and AOC. It's a party of dangerous morons. But Dangerous being the key part. I don't care that they're morons so much. I expect that, I guess. And I mentioned U.S. fighter jets downed near American embassy in Kuwait in friendly fire. Remember, friendly fire isn't. These were F-15E models. That's two-man crew in each of those F-15s, 3 of them shot down by Kuwait. See, we trained them just enough to use surface-to-air missiles. Didn't teach them about the identify friend and foe, IFF communications, I guess. So they shot down 3 American F-15s. All 6 Americans bailed out and have survived, but it's no casual affair punching out of a fighter jet. And the Kuwaiti Defense Ministry confirmed later that several American warplanes had crashed in Kuwaiti territory, but that the crews had survived. Yeah, they crashed because you shot them down, bobbleheads. This is what you get when you have bobbleheads. You know, it's because bobbleheads. The Arab war machine. There it is. You can train them. You can train them, but sometimes it really doesn't matter. And the Democrats, Ayatollah Khamenei, not to be confused with the Ayatollah Khomeini, because you wouldn't want to cut those. But the Washington Post over the weekend, when they learned that the Ayatollah Khamenei had died, the Washington Post described him as a man. Listen to this. The Washington Post described the Ayatollah, the world's #1 terrorist, and it might as well be Osama bin Laden. They described him as a man with an easy smile and a love of poetry. An easy smile and a love. He's Winston Churchill. He's and that's the Washington Post. It's the left. It's the Democrat Party. They're not on the side of civilization itself. This is the war for civilization versus the war against civilization. And so many Democrats have stood with Iran and the Ayatollah and the terrorists who would behead them and slam their heads onto pikes just for yucks so their kids could see it. But isn't that amazing? And that reminded a great many of us, of course, of the when another radical Islamic terrorist was killed. The ISIS leader was killed, and who was it? The Washington Post described him as the austere religious scholar. The austere religious scholar, because they love terrorists. They just love, the left loves murder and murderers. And the austere head of ISIS, the austere religious scholar, and now the Ayatollah Khamenei in Iran, a man with an easy smile and a love of poetry. He loved poetry, and he had an easy smile. He smiled when he saw Israeli children being killed and raped in tunnels. That's when his easy smile broke across his face. Isn't that amazing? And Mark Levin, the great one, killing Khamenei is like Hitler dying, a massive success for Trump, and 100% true. This, we're hoping, the nation of more than 90 million people, Iran, hoping that Iran will return to its former glory, and it was a comparatively glorious country under the Shah, even though he wasn't perfect. He was a lot more perfect than the regime that took over when Jimmy Carter, the Democrat president, allowed that to happen. And the world hasn't been the same since. I got to tell you, let's Michael, let's take a break here. We've got a lot of people. I see a lot of people want to talk about what's going on, and understandably, we are at 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625. War in Iran. President Trump's legacy. I got to tell you, this is huge. Huge. Is a consequential president, the likes of which you don't see often at all, perhaps once in a century. This is a gigantic development, not just in the Middle East, but for the world, for radical Islam, for the West, the battle for civilization. And President Trump, once again, just blowing the doors off the place. We are at 888-630-9625. Of course, we don't know how it's going to come out. Big stuff, and it's in play Where's it going now? 888-630-9625. All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Ali. Ali, calling from Fairfax County in Virginia. Ali, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Honored again to speak to you, Chris.
Hey, man,
That's
welcome.
Amazing days we're living in. I couldn't wait till Monday to talk to you. I told you before, I'm originally from Iraq. I served with U.S. troops after 2003, all the way till 2006, in the midst of the sectarian war. Iran, Khamenei is responsible for every single bloodshed in Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, even Bahrain, you name it. This guy is if there is like a champions for terrorism, that's the guy. And I really want to thank President Trump because finally, we did the right thing in the head, in the nest. We hit them where it really hurts. I want to say thank you, Chris, for always bringing truth. And also, I want to say we need to watch Iraq. Iraq really is a hotbed now for all these militias which did not get hit by Israel or the U.S. for all these years. I know I know for a fact, they have been watched every single day, but now they are angry with a lot of oil, a lot of money. I'm not asking, to go invade Iraq again. I'm just saying these groups are angry, protesting every day. If you see on social media, I've been talking to family members all over the country, and it is crazy. It is crazy how connected a lot of these Shia militants to the Supreme Leader. And it's not like Lebanon. They don't have all the weapons that Hezbollah had before, but they do have the money. They do have the resources, and it's a huge country. We still have a huge embassy in Iraq. We have a base north in Kurdistan. We have a huge presence also in that region. So, we need to watch for what's next for these, crazy fanatics in that part of the world.
That is absolutely 100% right, Ali, and I'm glad you called in and shared that. And I just want to point something out for the audience, and I'm sure a lot of people noticed it. Ali, who's originally from Iraq and now proudly in the United States, American, worked with U.S. troops in Iraq, and we've spoken before. He said, we have a big embassy there, we have a base there, and yet Democrat Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib refers to the United States as they, and Ali from Iraq refers to the United States as we. Yeah, Iran in play, big time, huge time. The Ayatollah of rock and roll, dead, killed in an airstrike. The radical in radical Islam may come out to play. May have been singing John McCain, Bomb, 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 Iran over the weekend. This is a very big deal. This is not small potatoes at all. This is bigger than Iraq in many ways, because the mother of all radical Islamic terror organizations, it kind of started in the modern age with the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and the radicalization, which was already underlying the culture, underpinning the culture. It really came out in 1979 with the Islamic Revolution in Iran, and I remember it well, kind of a big deal, American hostages being held after the U.S. Embassy was overrun by the terrorists, and the news media at the time said, oh, they're students. Yeah, they really weren't students. It was radical Islam rising, and radical Islam is still on the loose. Look, I talked about it a little bit recently, actually, with September 11th and the anniversary of September 11th. We're coming up on the 25th anniversary of the attacks of September 11th. 2001. September 11th this year, 2026, will be a quarter of a century, 25 years. And there has been a nonstop war, civilization against radical Islam. And the Democrat Party, they're really not on our side at all. You give them the opportunity to go to any other side, into any other camp and support them, and they will. And you see them supporting any enemies of the United States and any enemies of the West. There were rallies in Washington, D.C., close to the White House in Freedom Plaza over the weekend of Iranians and others supporting the overthrow of the Ayatollah's regime, waving the old Iranian flag, the Shah-era Iranian flag before the Islamic Revolution Iranian flag. And that happened in Los Angeles as well. Pro-freedom for Iran. People, I started a mock little thing over the weekend with # free Iran. # free Iran. And the truth is, the best way to free Gaza is to free them of the death grip of Hamas. And the death grip of Hamas is in place only because of Iran funding Hamas, the radical Islamic jihadi terrorist organization, which really is genocidal, unlike Israel. Israel not genocidal, but Democrats, being the fascists that they are, they accuse Israel of being genocidal, as Rashida Tlaib did over the weekend. Both the U.S. and genocidal Israel doesn't care. Again, bad grammar by the idiot Rashida Tlaib. This is who they are. That's they. And again, I noticed it as he said it. Ali, originally from Iraq, referred to the United States as us and referred to the U.S. Embassy in Iraq, in Baghdad, as our embassy. But Democrat Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib refers to us as them or they, which is the equivalent of them, because she doesn't see herself as being part of us. But Ali from Iraq does see himself as being part of us, because that's how great a country we are. Aren't we amazing? All right, let's grab another phone call. Then there's a lot to get to, because I've got President Trump, of course, spoke over the weekend. Democrat idiots are out there attacking the United States because they're not on our side. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, held a press conference at the Pentagon today, along with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And I have audio for you from that press conference as well. This is a very, very big deal. And how long will it go on? Now, remember, keeping in mind, the Democrats say, you need to come to Congress and get authorization, which they never said Barack Obama had to do because he had standing approval from the Democrats, who, by the way, are the biggest warmongers in the history of the United States of America, certainly. And they get us into practically every war. And even September 11th, they're responsible for, because they took our guard down. But setting that aside. All right, let's go back. And we also, again, I mentioned in Austin, Texas, a jihadi attack by a Senegalese from Senegal, Africa, West Africa, a Senegalese terrorist, an Islamic jihadi terrorist, wearing a T-shirt. First of all, he's wearing the Iranian flag underneath his T-shirt, and he's got a hoodie because, he wants to be a Democrat. But the killer in Austin, Texas, a jihadi with his jihad T-shirt, his Islam T-shirt, and he showed up with a rifle and shot the place up and murdered a bunch of people and wounded a bunch more because, this guy is a radical Islamic jihadi terrorist. And also, we've been braced for years. We've been told for years and years, decades even, that Iran had sleeper cells inside the United States ready to act. And this guy was, I don't know if he was an official sleeper cell, but he was triggered, let's say, as Democrats so often are, by the events in Iraq, in Iran, let's say. And with that, let's go back to the telephones. Let's go to Eli, calling from Chicago, listening on Al Gore's Amazing Internet. Eli, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Chris, first of all, I want to say mega dittos. Since Rush passed away, you're the best thing on air. So tremendous kudos to you.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you very much.
I just want to say I was speaking with a few buddies on Saturday night about who, obviously not who the good Iranians would like to take over the country, the good Persians, but who would, the America hater, radical Islamics love to take over Iran. So I was thinking maybe we could send them, as you mentioned, maybe we could send them, because the previous caller was just talking about, he referred to America as we, but Rashida Tlaib says they. Maybe we could send them a few offerings, maybe Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, or maybe we could even send them Bernie Sanders. But they hate Jews, but he's a self-hating Jew. So maybe Bernie Sanders could pass muster with them. That's my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Maybe it's true. Maybe Bernie's being Jewish would come out in the wash, since he's not exactly a good Jew, is he? If you're supposed to be Jewish and on the side of Jews, he's not that, is he?
Right. So he hates Jews so much. So maybe even the Islamic jihadists, they'll be happy to use him. That he's an apparatchik who could be used, and they know how to use people.
They do. That is a fact. They're good at propaganda, and the Democrats help them with that. But look, if we could hand over a whole bunch of them, certainly Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, and Bernie Sanders should be thrown in there too. We've got, honestly, and I've talked about this in the past, Eli, that the biggest threat to the United States of America, and really by extension to Western civilization, to civilization itself, you've got Putin, you've got Xi Jinping, you've got the Ayatollah. No longer do you have the Ayatollah. But the biggest threat is the United States, in the United States of America, and to the United States of America, is actually the left, and that is the Democrat Party. They're here to undermine us from inside. They are the enemy within, and they're the best allies of the Vladimir Putins and the Ayatollah Khamenei's and the radical Islamic, the Islamic Revolution in Iran. Their best ally is the Democrat Party in the United States.
Never forget, Bernie went and he had his honeymoon under the tyranny of the Soviet Union, and he would brag about it.
Yeah.
So he loves, he loves autocracies, theocracies, anything which there's no representative, true representation by the people. He loves it. He loves power.
Well, the left is here to destroy the world. They've been at it for more than a century now. They've murdered more than 100 million human beings, more than any other gang of murders in the history of humankind. And Bernie Sanders cheers it on, and they call themselves socialists. It's all for the greater good of everyone, and they lie about everything. But and they really the left in the United States. We've got a couple of these nitwits today, Eli, talking about this, and the United States again. Rashida Tlaib is the voice of the Democrat Party here, and she refers to us as they. They is the equivalent of them. It's the opposite of us or we. And it suggests very clearly, Eli, that she is not on our side, doesn't it?
It sure does. And that's why if she wants to, if Rashida Tlaib loves, see, the problem is we have a problem here. We're bombing Iran not because we want a new despot to take over, because we want true democracy and freedom for the people. So, from that perspective, we would never want to send over Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and their ilk to continue to destroy a country where, I saw an estimate 70% of the people want freedom, or, what I'm saying? Most people want freedom there. So we're stuck. We're importing people who hate America into our country. And, we'd like to think we have a place we could send them out to where they could hate America. But we don't want them to reproduce their hatred of America in countries. We want to start loving America and follow the ideals of America and the American Revolution. So we sort of have a problem here.
Yeah, we sort of have a problem here. Yeah, we do. Yeah. Honestly, the all enemies, foreign and domestic, and too many members of the Democrat Party have lined up against the United States, and it doesn't even matter whether it's Venezuela or Iran or China or Putin. The dirty work inside of our borders being done by the Democrat Party, no matter who the anti-American, the cartels in Mexico. The Democrats support the cartels. A cartel leader killed last week by Mexican forces, but apparently with U.S. assistance. And the Democrat Party becomes furious with us for taking on drug cartels, for blowing up drug boats in the Gulf of America.
And never forget to point out the hypocrisy. Barack Obama killed even American citizens. No one did drone attacks like Barack Obama. They never wanted a War Powers Act. They never wanted anything, the Democrats. And the Republicans, they're always feckless, so we could forget about them. But without Rush Limbaugh, they're certainly feckless. But so Trump came along, that is it.
Yeah.
But Obama was including killing American citizens. I never heard Bernie Sanders or anyone complaining about the War Powers Act. Suddenly, the Republicans in power, and they're always complaining. Listen, I believe that I originally thought that Bush was the second Iraq war was a positive thing after 9/11. But I'm not sure that history proved that what happened to the Middle East. But only when a Republican is in power are the Democrats running around about War Powers Act and this and that. Whenever look at Kennedy, look at LBJ, look at Vietnam, right? They're always when their person's in charge, they could wage war across the whole world. Barack Obama across the whole Middle East. But when a Republican's in charge, they're just hypocrites. They're just hypocrites.
Yes, they are, and I'll tell you that on ABC Fake News this morning they had George Stephanopoulos, who's the of course Clinton administration official that then became a $15 million a year network news anchor because he had never worked in the news business, but he had proven his Democrat Party credentials, and he this morning made up a lie. Since you just mentioned it, we have the soundbite. Michael Pierce, he's looking at me funny. George Snuffleupagus on their morning show this morning on ABC News.
The president promised to keep the United States out of foreign wars, but at this point, no modern president has ordered more military strikes against more countries than Donald Trump. That's a lie.
But, Eli, if you watch ABC News and get your news from ABC News, that's good. Now, I've got to say, he did say that President Trump, that he's going to come in and he wanted to end this whole cycle of war thing. And President Trump has taken military action against 7 countries. Barack Obama, 8 countries. But George Stephanopoulos is not a truth teller. He's a Democrat propagandist. President Trump has now.
I never forget when Bill Clinton, when he bombed that Tylenol factory and he killed that medicine factory. I think he killed that poor guy in Iraq in the middle of the night. And when he bombed Kosovo, when he was having trouble with Monica. I mean, the Democrats are just the biggest hypocrites on earth. And when their man is in charge, they don't care. Trump is actually trying to free people who have been living under the despots, various despots, since Jimmy Carter was president, and partially because of Jimmy Carter's fecklessness.
Yep.
So this is all goes back to the Democrats from beginning to end. When their person's in charge, they could do no wrong. If Republicans in charge and they would split the sea, they could do no right.
Yeah.
Trump says, I could cure cancer and they wouldn't like it. That's right. It's crazy.
Nancy Pelosi, since you mentioned it, and importantly, Nancy Pelosi was asked while Barack Obama was bombing Libya, and while President Trump has taken military action against 7 countries now, Barack Obama 8 countries, although the Democrats usually don't count the Philippines. He did use the U.S. military to go after radical Islamic jihadis in the Philippines as well. And President Obama, he attacked Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, Somalia, Yemen, Libya, Syria, and the Philippines. That's 8 countries. President Trump has used the U.S. military, striking 7 countries. But George Stephanopoulos lies no matter what. And here's Nancy Pelosi going way back now to Barack Obama when he was bombing Libya in a military campaign. He said it would take days and not weeks. And then it took 8 months. And when asked, doesn't President Obama need to come to Congress for authorization to use military force against Libya?
Madam Leader, you're saying that the president did not need authorization initially and still does not need any authorization from Congress on Libya?
Yes.
Thank you both.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Yes, that's it. And there it is, Eli. Because when you're a Democrat all the way, from your first cigarette to your last dying day. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. They're on Team Democrat, not Team America. Ask Nancy Pelosi. You don't need the authorization of Congress when you're a Democrat. Only when you're a Republican do you need the authorization of Congress, right? Bill Clinton, Somalia, Bosnia, Kosovo. There were no votes in Congress for Bill Clinton to strike in Kosovo, a major war in Bosnia. I dropped in and out of there frequently. Somalia, 1993, Bosnia, 1995, Kosovo, 1999. No authorization. Barack Obama, 8 countries, no authorization, none requested, none needed. And the then Speaker of the, now she's the Emeritus, right? Emerita, Speaker Emerita. Democrats don't need authorization from Congress, only Republicans. Keeping in mind that Democrat presidents got us into World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War. Oh, and let's not leave out the American Civil War when their president, Jefferson Davis of the Confederate States of America, had a little something to do with it, too. Democrats. And I've got a lot of great audio to get to about what's going on in Iran and at the Pentagon, a press conference, the President of the United States, a lot of stuff to get to coming up. And how are Iranians feeling about all of this there and here? Let's go to, let's go to Greg calling from Rockville, Maryland. Gregory, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris, thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
I just wanted to say, this was I talked to a family in L.A. area, and, the Persian American, the Iranian American community is just ecstatic. They are beyond, as any diaspora, there's always, some Democrats and, some liberals within it, but, everyone is just 100% behind Trump right now. These people are just, you can see this, you've seen the footage, these people are going crazy. They just, the passion that's come out after 47 years of tyranny where, a nation exists, a so-called nation exists that, treats women like dirt and just the barbarity that you've so often documented about this regime is just incredible. So the passion is real. And I think if things go, we'll there's a long way to go here, but if there is a free Iran, Donald Trump will go down as, certainly one of the greatest in modern history. And he will, pretty much Republicans will always have the Iranian American vote.
Yeah, more to come.